Lopes fans, welcome in. My name is Brennan Williams, and this is Go Lopes Radio. We are coming to you live here at GCU Arena. Another rapid reaction after the game. This time a little more somber as GCU falls to Youngstown State 90-81. Youngstown State, I think I just read they led the game for 26 of the 40 minutes. Pretty much in control most of the game. They were lingering for a bit, and then it seemed like they were in most control the second half. Like I said, we're here live after the game. We've got intern Blake as well. Blake, how we doing?
Not great after that loss, not going to lie.
Yeah, guys, this is a weird one. And I think we want to get into it. Let's go over just some quick, just kind of points from the box score. I think we got to start with the 3-point percentage because, oh my gosh, Youngstown 12 of 27. And I believe at one point they were 1 of 6. We'll have to double check that. So they finish hot from 3. And GCU 2 of 13. So a minus 30, minus 10 threes, minus 30 points from the 3-point line. Youngstown State feels like kind of won the game there. GCU out rebounds them though, by the way, 39-28. So GCU, I feel like you felt that probably too. I feel like down low they were kind of getting what they wanted and they were controlling the boards.
I did too. I did feel that. I mean, I would have loved to see going inside a little bit more, but didn't get to see that.
Youngstown State here, 18 assists to only 9 turnovers. That's I mean, looking at that, that's kind of eye popping. And then GCU 13 assists to the 13 turnovers. So all in all, you go through the box score. I mean, the rebounds obviously kind of stand out, but outside of that, the Lopes guys, they get handled at home. I don't think, obviously there was some weird stuff with the refs going on in this game. I thought they kind of lost control. I don't think that's something to fall back on or really conversate a whole lot about. I thought the Lopes pretty thoroughly got outplayed on their home court as 15-point favorites, and they lose by 9. Blake, just kind of tell me the first thing that you kind of maybe point to looking at this game. What do you kind of go to say why the Lopes lost by 9?
I mean, like you said, it seems like there was a lot of reasons, but the main point, and we talked about it in our pregame show, was the 3-point shooting. This is a team that's their identity last year was shooting threes. They didn't make a lot of them last year, but with new personnel this year, we talked about how things could be new. Their exhibition game, they made a ton of threes, and that continued against us. They were just spraying threes from everywhere. And the thing is, so many of them were wide open. It was wide open threes. It was lazy contests.
Yeah.
And then you talk about our side of the ball, our 3-point shooting. There was only one guy that made a 3-pointer. Makai Williams hit 2 threes. That was the only 3.
Yeah, they were late in the game too.
Yeah, and I mean,
took them 30 minutes to make a 3.
It's just so hard to play offense when teams don't have to fear your 3-point shot because then they can clog the lane. We know we have so many good slashers, so many good guys that drive into the hoop, but that doesn't matter when teams can just clog the paint. So that's where I point to first to assess this loss.
Yeah, some more box score work here really quick, guys. Nana Owusu-Anane, 7 of 14 from the field, 12 rebounds. So, I got to be honest, 19 and 12 for Nana. That's a pretty good game. Their standouts, Jaden Henley, 9 of 17 from the field. He adds in 5 rebounds as well for 19 points. Standouts on the Penguins side of things, pretty balanced for them. Just a bunch of people kind of chipped in. Emmanuel Zorgville was 7 of 9 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, 18 points. Chris Carroll, we talked about, I feel like we couldn't have talked about him anymore before the game. And we tried to tell people he is a great player. And he dealt with foul trouble and still poured in 14 points very efficiently, as we talked about. And yeah, you go up and down this sheet here, guys, that I'm staring at. And the Lopes really got beat pretty comfortably tonight. So one thing I want to talk about, we talked about the threes a little bit, Blake, but I think, I don't know, when you kind of look at some of the little things, each three, we would look at each other even before the ball went in. And you mentioned the lazy contest. That was kind of shocking to me because this GCU team, they have a ton of size and length, and they could be disruptive. We saw it at times against IPFW, even against USC and Baylor. I feel like they had moments where they were, able to really affect the game. And this felt like Youngstown was not bothered, like literally one bit by GCU.
I mean, yeah, I don't know about you, but every Youngstown 3 that went up, I thought it was going in. And I think it was somewhat a lack of effort on our side. This shouldn't be a team that's that bad on defense. We have the personnel. We have the athleticism. And I think it was just a lack of effort overall on defense.
Yeah, Bryce talked about that in the postgame. We talked about the transition defense, which was a problem. 18 transition points for Youngstown. And there were moments where GCU cut into the lead. They're celebrating a little bit. And by the time they look up, they're down there are a few that Youngstown, I mean, they put the ball in the hoop 3 seconds into a possession. It was pass,
Yeah.
alley-oop, dunk. So that was killer as well. I think here's my thoughts, Blake, and I'm going to say this, and I want to I'll just get it out here. I thought tonight was a really, I don't want to throw around the word embarrassing. I thought all around kind of an embarrassing evening for GCU basketball. And to me, it's multifaceted. First was just the vibe in the arena. I hate to do this and like try to, GCU is an incredible amount of support. There was just a lot of discovered. It made for a very uncomfortable student section, in my opinion. That stood out to me. I didn't feel like the other fans showed up, and I didn't feel like the support was there at all from that side. It's Friday night. It's the second game of the season. There's no reason not to have that. And on top of that, you get the performance we saw tonight, which, quite frankly, I mean, if it's not just that they kind of got outplayed, it's that it felt like they kind of got outworked against a team who we've talked about that they have such a high floor from their motor. And I still saw that from Nana. He was fighting on the boards.
Yeah.
You still saw the fight. To me, though, I go through this and I thought it was an all around, I hate to say the word embarrassing, but from the energy in the arena, which was weird and awkward, Youngstown lingering, hanging around, and I thought they outplayed the Lopes. They out efforted the Lopes. I hate to say like out coached. That seems very dramatic, kind of Monday morning quarterback, but I don't know. So it just felt weird all around the whole game. It just felt super awkward. And credit to Youngstown State. They travel all the way across the country because they played at Pitt, travel all the way across the country for a game. They showed up. They were ready to go. It felt like they were attacking matchups. It felt like they were prepared for this game. Didn't feel like GCU was very prepared. Like we said, they shoot a ton of threes. GCU wasn't closing out very well. Felt like Chris Carroll came in the game and he was just having a jolly good time, even though he dealt with foul trouble, getting whatever shot he kind of wanted. Again, he'd come right in the game and just get an open look, no contest. I don't know. We talked about him all week. We talked about how frisky this team is. We talked about how good he was. Felt like they were picking on certain GCU players in the pick and roll and getting whatever they wanted there. This felt like a Youngstown State team that was prepared, watched film, knew who to attack. Obviously Wilhelm comes back in from an injury, which, is great news for Lopes fans because I thought he was a standout tonight. He comes back in, they attack him first possession, put him in the pick and roll, gets the switch, little guy goes by and layup. It just was little stuff. They seem more prepared. They seem more ready to go. And it was a little embarrassing, I thought, just kind of all around. And I hate to that's with perspective. Again, this team has a lot of things to figure out. They're gelling on the fly. I want to see this through a proper lens, but I do want to be honest and raw on what I saw tonight.
Yeah, I think embarrassing is the right word to use. And another thing I'll point out is it seemed like the Youngstown State coach, Coach Faulkner, was kind of ready for everything. It seems like when we went into that 2-3 zone, it seemed like he wanted us to.
Yeah.
Because as soon as we go into it, he had a play drawn up. He was setting a bunch of screens in the zone, finding open guys, whether it was getting the ball to the high post, getting the lob dunk, getting the open threes in the corner. He just seemed like he was really ready for this game. He had everything mapped out.
Yeah, there was never any panic. Even at the end, it felt like, GCU, they were scoring and making that late push. And it was like, is GCU going to hang around here? And they never really panicked. And I think that's an interesting thing to see on the road in, a relatively tough environment, to seem that prepared, comfortable, confident. I feel like every time someone would get the ball in their hands, they were confident and they knew what they were going to do, and they didn't. It's just weird. I can't believe that Youngstown State essentially controlled this whole game is what it felt like.
It wasn't a lucky upset, I'll say that. It was basically every aspect in the game. And there was a point where Jalen Henley went up for the dunk. There was that crazy
that was really
foul.
Bad. Yep.
And that was the last point where I thought we might come back. And after that, we were just in the rearview mirror. It seemed like we couldn't catch up to them. And that was really the last point.
So I know we talked, we've used some words here, and I want to make sure, one, we see it through a proper context. Again, this team learning on the fly. I don't know. I want to make sure we appropriately kind of attack this, and let's talk about some of the things on the court that we feel like led to some of the, I know we talked about the lazy contests and the 3-pointers and maybe not being prepared, but let's talk about some of those things. I think where I would like to start is, I don't know. I just think defensively, what we were doing wasn't great. We talked about the lazy contests. We talked about the zone. I think the zone, talked about it the other night after IPFW, just didn't work. Thought it was a little lazy. I thought tonight it was just kind of lazy. And I think it felt like they were laying back in it, hoping they would get something, and just, we are the better team. Maybe we're more athletic and they would get something. And I think, I don't know. I mean, again, they feel like they did okay on the rebounds. Youngstown State only had 8 offensive rebounds. Felt like a lot of those were early. I think they had 4 or 5 early. So GCU did a really good job there. So again, I want to give them credit on that. Gosh, I'm going through this, guys, and it's not good. Let's talk a little bit more about the defense. What else did you see on that end? Because 90 points is pretty noteworthy.
It's also tough to run the zone when they're beating us down the floor on what felt like every possession. It seemed like they wanted it more, and it's hard to play defense on guys that they're beating you down the court and they're already set up. It's hard. How are we supposed to set our defense up if they're down there before us? They created a problem for us.
Yeah. Other things on defense I noticed, FA, the communication and on the pick and roll switching. Is he dropping? What's he doing?
Yeah.
That seemed out of sync, and it seemed like he I think had quite a bit more fouls again tonight. He had 3 fouls. We've talked about with FA with the fouls with him there, usually because he's behind or kind of trying to analyze and get used to the speed of the game. And it felt like after every time maybe there was an alley-oop or something, he would be talking with someone, right? And it felt like they didn't work out those coverages throughout the game, and the adjustment wasn't made. I mean, and the big guy was a great alley-oop threat, by the way.
He was.
Youngstown. Yeah. He's the perfect threat around all those shooters. Yeah. And I felt like it was a tough test. They're good. I don't want to undersell Youngstown State, but I thought FA in the pick and roll it just wasn't great.
Yeah, the pick and rolls, but even the off-ball screens were a struggle too. And that's credit to them again, Coach Faulkner. But they came off those off-ball screens with the intention to score, the intention to get open threes, and we were lagging behind on some of them. And that's another reason why they were hitting open threes, is we couldn't get through those screens. So,
yeah, beat off the dribble too. Bryce talked about that a little bit. I thought there were a few guys on the wing, guys who I think are good defenders, and on a normal night, IPFW, it felt like they gave them a ton of problems. Our wing defenders, I thought that was going to be an asset for this team. You saw guys getting beat off the dribble, and then from there, if you get beat off the dribble, you're playing catch up a whole possession. Eventually, it's going to lead to an open three,
especially against a team like that moves the ball so well, that plays to their strength, which is a 3-point shot.
Yeah. Offensively, let's talk about it a little bit. GCU, listen, they weren't awful. 32-66 from the field. Obviously, from the 3-point line, 2 of 13, 15 of 22 from the free throw line. A lot of those misses were early, which I feel like allowed Youngstown to stay around. But they did make a lot of their free throws down the stretch. Assists 13 to 13 turnovers, a drastic change from game one.
Yeah.
Like I said, Nana still had success. Brian Moore, I thought, had some success, and then Jaden Henley. Listen, they didn't shoot it bad, but I guess it's tough when you got to score 91 points to win a game.
Yeah, positive that I will point out, and we just mentioned this, that Wilhelm was a +3 in the plus minus. He didn't play the whole game due to that injury, but I do feel like our offense flows so well with him in there.
Yeah.
He's such a good backdoor passer, and it just seems like he always makes the right play. So that's one positive I can take from the game, is that when he's in there, I feel like our offense is flowing super well.
Yeah, to score 81 points with only 2 threes, I feel like is pretty noteworthy. Yeah. And again, we talked about, we were a little harsh earlier, but I do think offensively this team has maybe exceeded my expectations a little bit. Obviously, only the 2 threes is a problem, but I do feel like this team's actually going to be able to score. I thought maybe it'd be the other way around. I thought defensively the floor would be very, very high, and then offensively, if they were going to be able to score enough, they could beat some teams. Just a 2-game sample size, but there's a chance that might be the opposite, because I actually think they have a ton of options offensively, and a lot of guys seem a lot more ready to go right now than maybe we anticipated. Anyone really specifically that stood out to you offensively?
I mean, I thought Nana had a good game. Henley did a good job of getting downhill at certain times. There were times, though, where he settled for those kind of deeper mid-range contested shots, which I don't like as much. Brian Moore did some solid things offensively, getting to the hoop. And like I said, I thought Wilhelm honestly did the best job.
Yeah,
while he was
the passing's so good.
It opens everything up.
We talked about defensively how there wasn't that communication. Offensively, it feels like the communication's there on backdoor cuts, and Wilhelm's obviously able to hit him. Even Nana, I feel like, is able to make those passes. So I think that is an interesting point as we're talking about this now, is that communication seems to be there on the offensive end. And I was nervous that would take time to develop, and it seems like maybe some of that has to happen more on the defensive end. A unique matchup tonight. but definitely something to monitor. I think, Dusty Stromer, 1 of 8 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3. That certainly wasn't great. Caleb Shaw, we've talked about how important he's going to be to this team to provide some three-point shooting. Just some bad turnovers in the first half. He had 3 turnovers in 14 minutes. We've talked about just when he handles the ball, he's got to be careful with the ball, and he wasn't tonight. Obviously, he got benched in that first half, but a lot to improve on there. Anything else offensively to call out? I think they got to the rim pretty well.
They did get to the rim pretty well, and that was one of the strengths. I'm honestly,
which with a smaller team like Youngstown, you would hope, right? That would be
one thing I will mention that I wanted to see. I wanted to see the ball go inside just a little bit more. When you can't score, when it's late in the shot clock, just get a paint touch. Every coach says paint touches just lead to create good things on offense. And after the first half, we saw them go inside of the post 2 times.
You can. If you want to take a look at it, you can while you're.
Yeah, in the second half, after halftime, we saw him go into the post 2 times. One to Nana and then 1 time to FA, and both of them worked. We got layups.
What's crazy is those aren't they're not these crazy plays. They're really just, hey, both the teams GCU's played. We talked about this IPFW as well. You're like old school, like middle school post ups. We're bigger. FA's bigger, and they were just it was just a jump hook, I think, from FA, and it was 2 points. I was like, wow, that was great. And they didn't help. So, it was an easy 2 points. Maybe if they were to help, some of those 3-point looks might be better. But that's an interesting point of did we maybe play that wrong knowing they were smaller? And did we need to go down to those guys earlier and make them work a little harder?
I think so. I mean, I'm looking at it here, and 3 shots for FA. I know he only played 18 minutes, but I would love to see that in the 7 or 8 range, especially just with that size advantage. So many of them can be just one dribble, hook shot, and they're easy buckets.
Yeah. Guys, a tough night here at GCU Arena, no doubt. 90-61, GCU falls. This one is going to be tough, guys. We talked about IPFW, how important it was to beat them outside of, the predictive models. You want to beat them by more. For the resume, tough start to the year for the Mountain West. We don't need to make any kind of bold declarations on what this could do long-term. All we can say is we know this will be a potential really tough blow to the resume and the goals for the season and what the season might turn into. So we'll see how that unfolds. We don't need to get, we don't need to be too overreactive here 2 games into the season, but this will certainly set them back a little bit of what maybe some of their goals were. Blake, I think we've probably gone enough here. I mean, hand it over to you, wrap it up, and then I'll get us out of here. I mean, just kind of some final parting thoughts.
This loss does hurt, but you learn from your team when you lose games, and hopefully they can get back and finish out non-conference play strong, win some games in the Mountain West, make a run in the Mountain West tournament. We can still make March Madness. We know that. We know how good this team plays and how Bryce has his guys playing in March. So I'm still confident that we'll be playing our best ball later in the year.
Yeah, it's not. My kind of party message is going to be saying this isn't a sales pitch. This isn't me being ignorant to what happened tonight. I feel like I was very honest in what I saw tonight. We both were. Yeah. This is not season over for this team. Just, cancel Christmas. Everything's over. Don't come to any games. I believe that, like you said, this team we talked about this before the season. They are going to have little hiccups. Now, we weren't expecting a 40-minute long hiccup, I think, that we got today. That is not good. But this team is learning on the fly, right? It is a different task that this staff has never had before. And they're going to be facing different level of competition, better than this Youngstown State team, even though they might be a little better than I think some people think, some of the models think. This group needs to gel and mold. I know they're going to learn from this loss. I think you can even look at the exhibition after USC, and we talked with Nana, and they came out and they started out hot against IPFW, and I thought that was a good statement. Now they come back playing a pretty bad Northern Illinois team Monday, so we can't sugarcoat that. So I think a good opportunity to get back on track, and then you go on the road and listen. If you think this was a tough team, tough environment, and you're having to try to play chess against a really good team, this St. Louis team, which we're going to have, a ton of content for when they go to play on that game, you better be ready. Otherwise, they will wipe the floor with you. It's a really good St. Louis team. So the hope is that this team kind of digests this one really quickly, learns from it, and they bounce back. But yeah, like we said, a tough loss here at GCU Arena as GCU falls to Youngstown State out of the Horizon League by a score of 90-81. That's it, guys. Thanks for tuning into the show. We really appreciate you guys and hopping in the Discord. lots of good conversation throughout the game, I thought, and we really, really appreciate you guys. And cheers. We'll see you guys early next week.